We've got a recruiting-related question coming in from Peace Clan. We could use more of that. I have not heard much at all on Dominick McKinley, 5-star defensive lineman from Louisiana. Does anyone have a read on him?
I mean, there hasn't been much talk about him as much as there have been the other defensive linemen. He took an official visit to Ohio State, one of 4 back in June. It's been 20 years since Ohio State has landed a defensive lineman out of Louisiana. The last being Nader Abdallah back in 2004. And I'll believe it happens when I see it, because I just don't see pulling a guy from one of these southeastern states and pulling a defensive lineman, a coveted defensive lineman out of the southeast states that isn't Florida. I wouldn't expect it. Like, I would never expect it out of Alabama. I would never expect it out of Louisiana, basically, is what I'm saying. And so we'll see. He took official visits to Ohio State, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas A&M. So when you look at that, like, yes, Oklahoma and Texas are now SEC schools, but you would expect maybe some more southeastern Georgia, Alabama, stuff like that. So maybe they can get him. But then you also see that LSU is one of those teams. And so, good luck.
Yeah. I like his school list. I mean, he's hit all the ones there in his area that are really good. With LSU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. He's not, I figure it's going to be one of those 4 is probably where he's going to land. The funny story about, you mentioned they haven't had a guy from Louisiana since 2004, Nader Abdallah, a big defensive tackle. He really, I think in his 5th year, he finally played a little bit for the Buckeyes. And it was during the election year, I presume it must have been 2004, somebody asked Troy Smith about the election and Ralph Nader was making some noise in that election, and they asked Troy Smith, like, who are you rooting for in the election, Nader, whatever. And Troy Smith said, my main man, Nader Abdallah. He kind of took it the wrong way, but yeah, it was kind of funny. But that's my one main memory about Nader Abdallah. I think there was something else that happened in his recruitment. It's in Bill Conley's book. Bill Conley recruited him out of Louisiana, and something about a ship was docked in the New Orleans Bay or something. And it was some kind of story about an international incident that was going down, like right there in New Orleans. I guess probably for an episode of NCIS New Orleans with our guy Scott Bakula. But yeah, I don't know what happened. But those are about the only things I really remember about Nader Abdallah.
Well, it's a hell of a lot more than me, because I got to say, as soon as that name came out of Tony's mouth, I thought, oh my goodness, yeah, I haven't
the Wayback File
said that name since whatever 2008, and absolutely for you guys to come up with information regarding Nader Abdallah. I've often thought, talking about nerd sports games, one would be you take a franchise and you play with a group of people and you have to name an individual from the all-time roster until, you run out and see who can last the longest. And, I would put my money on you two and Kevin, of course, for Ohio State football, because I would remember as soon as you guys said the name, everybody you named, I would have a recollection of everybody, but to come up with the name, that's a whole different level right there.
I think the better game would be, you can't name any starters. It has to just be the most obscure names as possible. Like, you get a name, you have to, figure out which team that guy played on, and whoever can come up with the most obscure names wins.
Absolutely. Another good one.